Hi everybody, this is Saad for the Saad Truth. Later today, I'll be teaching my consumer behavior MBA class, and for today's lecture, the main topics to be covered will be psychology of decision making and information search. So I thought that maybe I would whet your appetites by just very briefly going over a few uh, principles from psychology of decision making, specifically what are the types of rules, decision rules that people use when they arrive at a choice? And so if I'm, for example, facing multiple cars from which I need to choose one to purchase, how do I go about doing that? Each car is defined by multiple attributes, right? Gas efficiency, safety record, the price of the car, and so on. So how do I integrate all of this information to then say, I'm choosing the Mazda or the Porsche or whatever other cars within my consideration set. So today I wanted to briefly talk about two classes of decision rules known as compensatory versus non-compensatory rules. Suppose I said the following. I will choose the car that scores the best on my most important attribute. So for example, if I have young children and safety record is the most important attribute, I will look at, say, the 5 cars within my consideration set, and then I will choose that car that scores the best on the most important attribute, in this case, the safety records of the car. This is known as the lexicographic rule, first described by Amos Tversky, who passed away in, I think, 1996, and he didn't end up getting awarded the Nobel Prize, which was won by his long-term collaborator, Daniel Kahneman. You should definitely check out their work if you're not familiar with it. So that would be an example of a non-compensatory rule, because in this case, it doesn't matter if some other car actually scores much better on every other possible attribute. If it doesn't score the best on the most important attribute, it won't be chosen. Or to put it for a less consequential decision, if I'm buying toothpaste, I might say, I don't care about the different attributes of toothpaste. I'll simply choose the one that's cheapest. And that becomes my lexicographic rule, right? Price is the most important attribute. The one that scores the cheapest is the one that I choose. On the other hand, compensatory decision rules are rules whereby you could compensate in scoring poorly on one attribute by scoring well on others. So for example, if you say the normative decision rule, also known as the weighted additive rule, you basically take all of the attributes of a given choice, you multiply them by the weights of that of each attribute, and then whatever that final score is, I will do the same procedure for all of the different alternatives, and the one that scores the highest overall is the one that wins. And so in this case, this is called the compensatory rule, because let's suppose that one of the cars doesn't score too well on safety record, but actually on every other attribute it scores very, very well. So when you combine the whole package together, it might rank as the highest scoring one. So even though it fails on one, it compensates for it with others. And I was talking about this in a podcast that I appeared on this past Friday, where I used this example in the context of mate choice. So, for example, if a woman were to say, here are 5 guys that I might go out with, I'll go out with the guy who's the tallest. Okay, in this case, she's basically saying that height is her most important attribute, and the one that scores the highest on height is the one that will be chosen. That's a lexicographic rule. On the other hand, if she says, I will weigh all of the attributes, and the guy that comes out as the best package overall is the one that will be chosen. Well, in this case, you may be short, but you might have a great job, you might have charisma, you may have a great sense of humor, you may be intelligent, and other redeeming qualities. And so even though you don't score well on height, you score well on the full package. So that's one of the ways by which we classify 2 types of decision rules, whether they are compensatory or non-compensatory. So in a future Sad Truth, I might actually go through a whole bunch of these decision rules to give you a sense of the range of decision heuristics that people use when they're making decisions. Hope this was a informative clip. Please subscribe if you haven't done so. And last week I set up a Patreon account. Thank you to all those who've contributed, and to those who've not, please consider doing so. Talk to you soon. Have a great week. Ciao.